Hi, Hall and Hope Changemakers. Just a little bit of information here, and you will probably think Hall and Hope. What is that? And Hall are those of you who have done or are doing the progression sciences and are operating from that understanding of reality and the transformative energy system, primarily using consciousness to transform energy. And then there are Hope, which I have begun creating as a new pillar on the Whole Academy website, where I am working with higher order progressive energy, which is what Hope is, and that links us into the fifth cycle of the future. So this is the preliminary steps towards the Forerunner material, the 2025 timeline, and the fifth cycle. So whole change makers are primarily the ones that are still working inside the base program under what we call the fourth cycle, and the Hope change makers are going to be the ones that will use the fifth cycle. So that's all in its making, including new course material of reconfiguration of the male and female energy system, because I have said for a while now that we need to work with this in a different manner, because we are now moving quickly into density 1 outer domain original settings. So that means all of the things we have been accustomed to will change. And that's where I want to put a little bit of heads up here. Not that I have any solutions whatsoever. Not at all. But when we talk about understanding things that are going on, sometimes we need a little bit of information. We need to look at the moves that are happening. And I want to point the attention towards the transhuman agenda. I have for 10 years claimed that they will implement new types of sciences. And we have seen how that is happening. For instance, 5 years ago, just 5 years ago, CRISPR was an absolute no-go. They tried to get it, but it was a kind of, we are not comfortable with editing the human DNA. And now I can see they are just literally pumping out trials and medicine and experiments using humans now, to get rid of some of these diseases that they have claimed that they can cure with CRISPR editing the human DNA stem cell level. So I saw a little girl with a blood disease, 6-year-old. So they have rolled it out. And that is, as I always expected, and suspected, the outcome of the last, 4 years or 3 years. Sorry about that. But my time is a little bit off today. So we're kind of, when we talk about, what I'm saying here, avoiding the buzzword, but we had the CDV, painted blue, what are we going to call it? People that doesn't know my language say, what is he talking about? Well, just disconnect the dots, right? Because what was that all about? It was about the ability to alter the epigenetics and alter the coding mechanism in the human DNA using artificial means. Coded with the other one, what we will talk about collective level, they have now got a pretty strong tool to alter the human DNA inside our reality. So that's the first thing I want to point in the direction of. And that's, as those of you who know my material, follow me for years, you know that whatever happens as the first of many, as a local event, will always become a global event. And that means, then you will say, it's just that does that just mean that everybody will then adapt to this type of technology? Of course, they've been waiting. They have been like tiger ready to spring out of its hiding to get that rolled out so they can continue that project, which will solve a lot of the diseases in the future, as they so kindly put it. But it also has what we could call ramifications in the future once we begin to connect these kind of medical treatments with AI, and when we begin to connect it with different forms of quantum computers that will then alter the human DNA into having higher possible features. And that's the other level that is now being rolled out. So it's about the ability to understand these science and understand these technologies, which I can't say I do. And if you say, well, Randy, how do you know it? Then are you just kind of prospecting it? Are you projecting your mind into the future, or where do you have this information from? And that is, you can say, well, you could read it as a kind of, whenever something happens inside a reality field, then it ripples out into the future where it then shows this is the outcome of this. And that's ability most humans don't have. So they don't know what the repercussions and what the effects are of what they're doing. They're only viewing it locally and not systemically. And that's the problem. It's always been the problem with the enclosure and the downsizing of humanity, is that we are having groups of extraterrestrials and other humans, enhanced humans and different variations of groups and breakaway civilizations, to put that back in, that are experimenting with this and have experimented with it for a very long time, but in adjacent realities, and now it's being implemented so they can merge these realities via the sciences. You see, the old world order, they merged via the subconscious artificial 4D, but these groups, they want the enclosure to change, and we are in that move now, because yesterday on December 14th, the 10th dimension of the enclosure, remember it was linked to the D10 collective, or the groups from the D10 collective, and the hijackers, and that has begun to collapse. So that program is now in its process of collapsing. How long will it take? I don't know. It's not going to happen tomorrow and then the whole world will change, but it has begun to deteriorate, and it will do that slowly, ring by ring, similar as we saw it with the sun and the same process of our planet. And the sun took 15 years. So if we say there are 10 rings, well, perhaps it then take 10 years. The estimate is between 5 and 10 years, and then enclosure as we know of it and the reality we know of it will have shifted. Will people then wake up and say, whoa, this is a different world? No, absolutely not, because people will adapt to that new type of reality that comes in. So this is again only the ones that are able to keep their memories intact and are able to recall how things used to be. They will be the only ones that are able to see the difference, but the rest will just follow the flow, as we're seeing with the CRISPR technology, because 5 years ago, everybody was, no, that's not going to happen. And now it's just been rolled out and nobody's saying anything other than this is the best for humanity. So the complete shift of mindset, of course. So this is again when we talk about some of the rollout of the transhuman agenda, how they are overriding people and literally just change people, as in some kind of horror body snatcher movie thingy where people change and they look the same, they are the same. Apparently not, because suddenly they just shift from day to day. They just change from day to day. I have several experience from people where they kind of say, yeah, I expected that person to respond in this or that way, but when he or she came, they were just all in. They were just, wow, yeah, go for it. So people can be changed now pretty quickly. So that's one of the things that we're going to see. That's been in the making for a long time. And again, these are information I got 10 years ago. I've just been waiting for it to roll out. So when it was here, I could say, yeah, it's been plotted. It's been part of the overtaking of the old program, rewriting it. And then we had the intermediary, the event program, which is also collapsing. And with that, some of the architectural insertions that the Arcturians did on the sun as well as on our planet, that's also collapsing. So now we are facing the original outer domain or the transhuman agenda. And of course, some of the other stuff that's going on with the parallel universal matrix that are also rewriting history and rewriting programs and rewriting teaching systems and everything that we have inside our reality. Which brings me to the next one. There are three significant things that I've seen, which I've been looking for. When will it come? When will it come? First was CRISPR, getting that implemented. That's now rolled out. It's just going to run because humanity really can't control themselves in terms of technology. They're just kind of, whoa, we got these tools. It's so cool. And when you think about that, the male genome, the YX chromosomal feature is all about third cycle energy. And it's all about learning to use energy in the correct way. Because if you add 3 plus 4, you have 7. And that's the 1-7 pillar. And that goes with the individual level of mastering energy. And the highest level, that one will be principle 8. That is correct use of energy. So that's a feature males are learning. And since they are controlled by the third cycle, they will always be oriented towards what you call controlling space via technology. Penetrating via technology, altering via technology. Everything must be done by technology. It's kind of built into their genome. So that's, if I could use CRISPR on that one, I would. Let's put that out and get it into a different way of being a little bit more conservative and a little bit more careful with in terms of these enormously strong types of technologies that alters with the foundational building blocks, which DNA is. The next foundational building blocks that they have poked a hole into and are now altering at Fermilab that have now mastered to create an artificial wormhole. And I put links to the video below where they talk about this and keep in mind, everybody's good-minded people. It's not that these are evil people. Let's not do the people segregation thing, because everybody's just doing what they feel is right for them to do. Always keep that in mind, whatever that means. So everybody's having what we say the right intentions. They think they have the right intentions. You think you have the right intentions, and you might not know why you're doing what you're doing. You just get it as a good idea, and then you go for it. And then once you've done it, you don't know that you have now, as Oppenheimer, become the destroyer of worlds. We don't know until it's in our face, do we? Until then, we will always think that we're doing the right thing, and we will always believe our reasons for why we're doing it, because that's part of how the human mind works. We might have a little bit, as with the CRISPR technology, one of the scientists, kind of got it in a dream, actually. So it kind of goes with that, which I wish I could remember. It was a documentary I actually saw on Netflix years ago on that, altering the human DNA. I don't think they have it there anymore, so I can't remember or refer to it. But she talked about how she had that in a dream, and she had that bad stomach feeling, and she dreamt that she would become the new Hitler. And in a way, it's kind of, she got the technology in a dream, and she got the counter dream as well, but she pursued it because she was just too curious. Scientists are just curious, and that's what this YouTube video shows as well. They are just curious, and I'm curious too. When I go into different realities, I'm curious too. We are curious species. That's part of our makeup, at least those of us who have the science gene, right? We want to, explore. That's so interesting. And sometimes it would be good if we would just stand down a bit and say, perhaps that's not such a good idea. So that's part of it. Which is why in the future we have different, what we call, where we can look into the future of when we do this locally, how does that affect globally? That is the joint races that are part of this reality field, and how does it affect systemically, as in what will it do to our reality field as a whole, the entire system, rippling out into other systems. And by that saying, due to the amplification vector, which I talk about in the new reality programs, which also failed, by the way, but there we learned the sciences of the amplification vector, as well as the amplification factor, as in when you have different components of energy that goes together in the fourth dimension, there will be created what we call a synergetic effect as rings in water that amplifies each other, and all depending on the momentum of the stone in the water, so to speak, will it be a smaller stone will create smaller rings with a high amplitude, but it will fizzle out quicker. A heavier stone will create a more elongated rings, but it will last longer. A too heavy stone will just plonk and then go to the bottom, right? But then it will have a deeper effect, which would then, because then it will remain in the water, to use that analogy, and then it will change the entire, once you take a stone from land and plump it into the lake, it will become part of the lake, and then it will be there and affect the lake with whatever elements and what is in that stone. Perhaps not immediately, but over time there will be a residual effect that will alter the environment of the lake. So we have different, to use these analogies, different ways of altering our system. We can do it in small rings that are immediate, quick, changing mechanisms, from where we can implement more heavy rings that will then latch on to the smaller rings and create a multitude and multiple level of ring effect that will then amplify each other into create a huge program shift. And that's kind of with the matrix of change they've got implemented with the event. So it's technically, so the event allowed for the holographic overlays and the reconstruction reality using holographic overlay and extraterrestrial technology, whereas the new reality programs put in the ring effect, the amplification vector, the amplification factor, and taught the event program holographically to administer different nodal points in its system so that it would amplify each other to create these changes in a faster pace than we have had before. The moment they began implementing that, that's part of what you saw with the painted blue and how quickly that was rolled out. And now we're also seeing how the world is changing quickly compared to 10 years ago, where everything took forever and no changes ever happened, because that was one of the MOs of the old world order programs, was to keep things stagnant and status quo. And now we have programs that are amplifying each other to create changes and shift in technology and shift in science. So that's the transhuman agenda that are now being rolled out completely, and people are latching onto it because they're being overridden by the event program holographic overlay insertion technology. And at the same time, we are now having the matrix of change in play, not in the original form, but the dynamics and the technology is still there, now added up with the event program to create a twofold level where we both have the holographic overlay overriding systems, technologies, and the amplification vector back in. So that means now things can really move quickly to change our system, which is needed, but I'm not happy about it because it's based upon transhuman agenda. Were it based upon the progressive races for the highest good of the many, I would be more happy, but it's not. It is taking humanity down a path where humanity, as it looks now, will be very tightly connected to the parallel universal matrix and the transhuman agenda, which is unfortunate. That's not the way we want to go, because that leads to one thing, and that is to get closer and closer to what we could call the neutron field. And right now we have the sun that's shutting down, that is taking down the proton level of the sun, that is being kind of altered right now as we speak between 12/12 and January 1st. And then the last field that will be affected will be the neutron field that will unfold throughout 2023. And that's where the next piece of technology comes in with Fermilab. You can look at the video below. And again, remember, these are not bad people. They're just curious people that are following a theory and they want to prove it. And that's how we work. And I work the same way. And you probably, if you were a scientist, you will probably do the exact same thing, because you get entangled. You go in there, you have the best interest at heart, and you get entangled and you get excited about what you can do. And this is kind of a long dream of, this is what we wished for so long. And now we're actually able to do it. So of course they're pursuing that. That leads to, again, when we talk about some of the fusion technologies that are now also being rolled out. So we are having CRISPR, we are having wormhole technology, and we're having fusion technology that are being implemented right now. So that's the important part of that one. And I will continue that in the next little podcast.